Chris.
My apologies. Should be, I'm just checking, and it should be live because it says I've got 2 concurrent viewers at the moment.
Let me just check with them. Chris? Yes, I've got confirmation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Yeah, carry on.
Okay, let me just move my screen. An application for the grant of a premises license has been received from Mr. Thiven Masithan.
Yeah.
For the premises Wings Hut, 2060 Avenue, London, E4 9LD. The application seeks a premises license to permit the provision of late night refreshment Sunday to Thursday from 2300 to 0200, Friday to Saturday 2300 to 0300. Sale of alcohol Sunday to Thursday 11 to 0200, Friday to Saturday 11 a.m. to 0300. Sorry, let me just confirm. Sunday to Thursday, 11 a.m. to 0200. Friday to Saturday, 11 a.m. to 0300. Opening hours, Sunday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 0200. Friday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 0300. Alcohol sales can only be made by customers making a purchase with food, either online or by telephone, to be delivered to a business or residential address only. Such orders may also be collected by the customer between the hours of 10 a.m. to 2300 hours only. The agent, I believe, will clarify this. A full copy of the application can be found at Appendix A to the report. During the consultation, the licensing service received 5 representations from other persons, as well as the licensing police and the licensing team as responsible authorities. The representations relate to the prevention of public nuisance and the prevention of crime and disorder licensing objectives. The representations can be found at Appendix D and E of the report. The licensing team have since withdrawn their representation. Mr. Thiven Masithan's acceptance to have several conditions included onto the proposed premises license, as well as revise the licensable activity and operating times of the premises to 0100 daily, and will operate delivery only after 0100 hours. After giving due consideration to the representations made and taking into account the views of the applicant, and after giving due regard to the amended guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act and the Council's own statement of licensing policy, the committee is respectfully asked to determine whether the application for a premises license should be granted in full, granted in part, or refused. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for your case. And now I would like to invite the applicant and the applicant, your deliberation. I will invite subcommittee members and other parties for questioning. So over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think we heard about this application. Chair, I think this is an well-established takeaway food chicken specialized store, and is situated, among parade of other commercial premises, and also on a very busy street as well. And the applicant, has put this application, to extend the hours and the sale of alcohol. Chair, I think even when we prepare this application together with the applicant, we have considered the licensing objectives. What is the principle and the fundamental things that what we are looking at today? Chair, I think so. Consider all of those. You can see on page 31 and on page 32, there are 25 conditions we put forward in terms of promoting the licensing objectives. in particularly, protection of children from harm, prevention of public nuisance, and prevention of crime and disorder. Chair, we can look at this application in both ways. One is, there's a two application we might think. One is, late night refreshment, where we're going to sell hot food and things like that. And the other thing is the alcohol sales. So let's look at the alcohol sales, Chair. I know there are a number of concerns being raised. I will quickly address those concerns raised by the police and the other people. But let me tell you, Chair, I think we as applicant, we looked at this application and we don't want any antisocial behavior, public nuisance by selling alcohol late at night. So that's one of the reasons, we don't sell. The shop don't display publicly to sell alcohol from the premises. Only people can order food. So somebody want to order, they want to order food at 11:30 or 12 midnight, and they want to buy a bottle of wine with it. Okay, they can't order wine itself. They can only order with the food. And now the thing is, the alcohol cannot be, nobody can buy alcohol just coming into the shop. It's only by orders. So the thing is, they could buy the food. We are just talking about alcohol now. They could buy the food and order an alcohol. There are hundreds of, online 24-hour license, shops on internet. I could get alcohol delivered like 1 o'clock in the morning, to my house, right? Just clicking a few buttons on the internet, just paying it. So what we are doing here, with the food, we decided to deliver alcohol. And we are looking at only beers and wines, where, people have nowadays, if everything becomes online, people prefer to order online. Now, Chair, now looking at, how are we going to protect the children from harm and prevention of public nuisance or prevention of crime and disorder? So, like we said, we have put a number of conditions to protect the children from harm. So, the deliveries are happening. We are not the only people doing alcohol deliveries. There are hundreds of companies doing it in London itself. So now the question is, then how do you not deliver to under 18 or having people having parties, things like that. So as you can see, the only deliveries happen to the business places or house, not to the street. So people, when they do order it, no, a 17-year-old cannot order alcohol because everybody is checked. And then when they receive, the same person need to be over 18 to collect the alcohol. That's what happens. All deliveries are like that. So and the same procedures we are addressing. We're having this challenge 25 and having proof of ID and having all the record. I think in terms of the police, they can really. Because the record is in the shop, they can identify and link for the future concerns, if they could evidence it. And also, we have the CCTV system at the premises, which there is to, to find, police to discover any evidences for the future if anything like that happens. So, Chair, I think that's kind of, alcohol part of it. So I think so that's, off sales only by orders. Now, Chair, I think the prevention of public nuisance. The thing is, Chair, I think I know, these premises, if you look at the history of this particular premises, Chair, there is no recorded, complaints. Now I can see there are, as soon as we put these applications, then, there are objections, there are concerns, there are worries. But although we address them through, we are looking at, promoting the licensing objectives, we address them through a number of objections, number of steps we are taking, part of the conditions. Chair, also I would like to point out, with the licensing authority objection, we have access to some extra condition to maybe even more thorough, in terms of protection of children from harm and prevention of public nuisance. Chair, I think, right now, we can understand, when this premises is being put forward, like 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, the local residents could have concerns or like worries or, like that. So far you can see, Chair, there is no, complaints is made for this premises over the years. And right now, people order online, the business, want to promote, open late and do the business. But at the same time, it's not about the business, but it's about also promoting the licensing objectives. And we are taking many, many steps. Okay, Chair, I think this time I would like straight to go into the police objections on page 50 and 51. Chair, I looked at this, right? Because, I think you can't, there is a gang problem, which I think, there's no link, there's nothing, this gangs issue, nothing to do with the applicant or this particular premises, and right now, the premises haven't contributed to any of these problems. How? They've only been selling food, right? So you cannot really, blame everything on this particular premises when we put in the applications. Like, okay, so same thing like here, they are mentioned about, we understand there is this public, there's 2 or more people can't, hang around, and they have concern, they will be hanging around. But people come and eat food. This is a food business. People want to eat, we are selling food, and they take it away. And also, there are mention about schools also, people are recruiting from the schools and things like that. And already we mentioned in the application, they mentioned about electric scooters. We already mentioned in the applications, the applicant is using a reputable delivery companies. There are hundreds of them in London now. I think, let me tell you, for everything else, everyone uses electric bicycles. But as you know, Chair, this is the high street. Okay, there are already cars going at midnight. Nobody can stop them. Cars passing by. So there are considerable amount of noise. So if I'm living on that high street, I would close all the windows because I don't want to live with the car noise. But the question now, giving these premises an extra hour would contribute to, increased noise. But I would say no, because that's one of the reasons we are doing the electric bikes and things like that. The scooters are gone by the day. I'm telling you, even you see that a lot of people don't use scooters because one is expensive and all the other issues involved with that, right? So now moving forward, I think the applicant met with the police officer, and they have asked about the licensing objectives. Let me tell you, I think he couldn't bring that up straight away. I know it's for someone, although he knows because he's been running a retail off-license shop for more than 3, 4, 5 years. And he knows, how to prevent the crime and disorder, protection of children from harm. I think while he has been there, when the question was asked and he didn't answer them, clearly he couldn't bring that up, but he refreshed himself up now, when I asked him, he was able to go through everything with me now after he refreshed, so, but on the other hand, training and development is ongoing for everybody, sometimes they have to, train themselves up as well. Chair, I think, yes, addressing that police concerns, now coming back to the page number 54, Chair, we have a councillor objecting to it. But I think, Chair, it's very important that, we looked at this objection, whether they are related to these applications, like really properly. Why I'm saying that, Chair, if you look at the concerns which have been conveyed to me, so no other establishment in the area open late at time, okay? There's already a considerable amount of disturbance late at night from the wings. So we don't, I think there were, like I told you, we didn't have any complaints. Now only is coming up, So normally, if I'm somebody, maybe I will speak to if I'm authority, I will maybe go down and speak to the people, to the business owner, because we got to get balance. It is the business also we need to support. And 3 a.m. Okay, Chair, I think the objection is related to 3 a.m. in the morning. Chair, also what I would like to say, now we have accepted, the 1 a.m. is the latest we want to open. We amended the hours to address the concern. That's another positive step we have taken. And now you're looking at page number 54, the point number 2, antisocial behavior, alcohol is mentioned alcohol, but Chair, we don't sell alcohol at the moment. So they mention about alcohol. So it seems to me, the objection is really, we can't really take this objection into account for these applications. And secondly, also it says, alcohol cannot be consumed on the premises, but, isn't on license. We didn't apply for own license. So I'm really questioning page number 54 objections, because the residences, say something without really understanding what this application is all about. So in that sense, Chair, we got to really consider those points. And again, I'm going to page number 55, Chair, antisocial behavior. What we are saying, the antisocial behavior from this chicken shop, school children, they buy a chicken, box of chickens, and they throw it, I'm just saying, it's not happening. Is that what we are calling antisocial behavior? What is it? We haven't, sold alcohol. And the thing is, if few people are hanging around, the children, this is something, I really hate nowadays. People don't want children to, stand around and talk on the street. What's this? They don't cause any nuisance, everybody. They are, we can't just say all these children are really bad, they cause antisocial behavior, right? So if there is no clear evidence, Chair, that's what, this is our concerns, it's been raised. And, this applicant can't be responsible for whatever happening on the car park, The question here, whether this premises has contributed to any of those. Not everything said there is nothing to do with this applicant or this particular premises, So I think it's very unfair to say. And then continuing to, page number 56, they say, not necessary and encourage ringing on the street, things like that. But that's why the applicant is, we considered all of this. We don't want anyone to ring on the street. That's why nobody cannot buy alcohol at this premises, Only people who can buy where a home address is taken. So the business addresses is taken. Without it, we don't deliver to anybody, Now, and I can understand, Paul Ayton, he's one of the neighbor put a objection, Chair, Let me tell you, Chair, I think I was speaking to applicant today. And he himself, every day, he actually come around, and he cleaned the place, himself, So that's possibly why there were no previous complaints made. Probably these are like concerns raised, So now, I can understand, I'm looking at his point of view. He doesn't want, this premises, so he's trying to find the reasons, okay? So, just reading his paragraph saying, he's going through all this sleepless night and things like that. I don't understand what this is all about, because it's not a nightclub, it's not a bar, they don't play any music, people come in and then buy, the doors don't make any noise, things like that. But he managed to take a photograph while the door is open and assuming, the door is open all the time. That's not the case. I was speaking to applicant, they always have the back door closed, but occasionally they have to open it to do things, like taking out the rubbish or whatever that is, right? Now, the only thing I can share, things here, litter and things like that, even the backyard, we don't have any evidence, have they got any picture here with the wings cut to say, there's a rubbish from the wings cut is gone. This is like saying it, people hang around. And also people say, the trucks, and at the back, they're hanging around using trucks. Okay. Now, are they buying chicken from this shop? These are concerns being raised. it's really, I mean, it's nothing wrong. I'm not making wrong. All these concerns are really great. And what I'm saying, Chair, we have addressing them through number of steps we are taking to address them. Chair, I think, going further on, just to be, precise and not going too long, on page number 63, Chair, on the licensing authority, protection of children from harm, those are very strong steps. I think, we shouldn't have concerns about protection of children from harm, and prevention of crime and disorder also, we will say, right? But then what we are looking at, also public nuisance, okay, the only thing is whether people want to hang around, and I think the client is mainly focusing on deliveries at the moment. People at night, they don't get, and if somebody won't sit around after 10 p.m., they don't see youngsters coming at night, they all go and go sleeping. And if those people making drugs, okay, the police officer might say no, but, if those people using drugs and hanging around outside, we want to know, whether they are, it's obviously, I think the applicant can't be responsible for those people doing totally separate things. The only thing he can be responsible, whether they are buying, chicken and then throwing them, or, being around there. So considering all of those, Chair, I think, that's one of the reasons we decided, the applicant is responsibly decided, to amend the hours to 1 a.m. in the morning now. So, Chair, I think these are my points, Chair. And in terms of public nuisance, I think I was looking at the extra evidence given by the pictures is given by. I'm actually questioning this picture, Chair. Seriously, I'm questioning, because why I'm questioning this, there is no rubbish beyond the shop front is clean. Over there's nothing. Suddenly, the way it's been, taken pictures, I don't know where it's been taken with intention to prove. Okay, this rubbish, applicant said he always cleaned them. He also shocked to hear that. And also, we are questioning he told me, not opening beyond 11 p.m. Okay, I think before he had some complaints because, sometimes they have to takes long time to clean and things like that. Now they stopped it, and he said, I don't know why these pictures, and I don't know, this can be, it's not reliable documents because it can be edited or whatever this is, so I think there is, the applicant is still not open before 11 p.m. I think when there was a complaint from the authorities, and he decided even to close everything, right, to finish all his cleaning up and everything early too, rather than doing it late. Chair, I think when this premises is closed, there is not so much noise coming. They're talking about, washing up, make noise. No, I think this is normally a grilled, fried chicken place. The cleaning they don't have to do at night. They can organize that during the daytimes, so they can do all of those if there's a complaints. But you can see the next door person also never come and complain to the did not speak to the person in the over the months. Right now, when we put an application, they're trying to make sure that, okay, this is got rejected, as opposed to really learning this application, learning the business, and the steps we are taking. So that's all I wanted to say, Chair, I think, and then we are open to have more discussion and looking at any further conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Suresh, speaking on behalf of the applicant. Now I will invite questions from the subcommittee. I will request everyone, please limit to the questions only. Questions.
Thank you. Do I go first, Chair?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Okay. A couple of questions from me is obviously with the hours being reduced, my questions are reduced too. But how many staff will be working in the shop till 1 a.m.?
So, yeah, thank you. I think normally in the evening they always have 2 staff working minimum.
2 staff till 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay. And in case of, I know you explained that there's no problems or public nuisance. In case of a case that happens and there is a public nuisance, how and what are you doing about dealing? What steps are you taking to deal with public nuisance and noise?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think that's one of the things I can see could be a concern, is understandable concerns, for residents. So let's look at this, okay? So noise comes from people walking in, walking out, that's one of the noise we can think about that. And the other noise could be from the premises, whether they are the staff, the way they handle the machinery or the other
people hanging outside.
Yeah, the other one, yeah, I agree with you. And the other public nuisance we can consider, people buy the chicken box, and the food, and they hang outside, and then talk really loud,
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons we talked about, with the applicant even today. So one of the things, they are like ceasing any other operation before 11 p.m. inside the premises, like washing up, making any other noise and closing the doors. Okay. The other thing is they are putting a signs now to say that, not to congregate outside, please take the food away. If anyone doing it, they will say, so look, we put some signs, and if they are regular customers, they will really reject them, But on the other hand, the applicant is really, because people are now ordering, they are getting less and less customers coming in, and means that, this is part of the evolution of the business is to go, ordering. People order on Uber, Just Eat and things like that, because that's why they want to go on and then, continue this business. So now in the meantime, so how are we going to manage that, so like I told you, there are reputable, delivery companies, they do electric kind of scooter things or that electric bicycles. And, I think the deliveries only happen one delivery for every like 45 minutes to 1 hour. So they collect all the deliveries, they'll go at once, one time, So, and we don't see that will make so much noise, and we don't see that will, exaggerate, like that. There's always existing noise at the, the street have cars going all the time, throughout 24 hours, even at night. So the question is whether we're going to make any noise through deliveries, or people collecting it and delivering it, more noise, The question is, we don't see that's going to happen because the mode of, delivery vans we are using. But at the same time, we're going to, train them, because they're not going to hang around like 2-3 people talking, that's not going to happen. Okay. So they come, every 45 minutes to 1 hour, there was one delivery, they will collect all the deliveries and they do the deliveries, and that's how they've been managed. I mean, this is not the one premises in London, there are hundreds of premises, they manage. It's about how you manage it, But in case there's a complaint comes in the future, applicant will do something about it.
Yes. What would you applicant do if there's complaints?
Yeah, the complaints will be, they will look at the complaints and see what steps we can take, extra steps, depending on the complaints, obviously, and then address to the persons. And whoever, even with the next person, he did speak to him during this application process and told him, okay, we will make sure, any noise don't come from our premises, so we'll close all the doors at the back and things like that.
Maybe even display his mobile phone number in the shop if there is any complaint.
Yeah.
Your CCTV, the CCTV in the shop, does it record anything outside? Is there any CCTV recording in front of the shop?
Yeah, definitely. I think we are having the applicant is having one CCTV put on outside, so cover the outside of the premises. So that will also be an evidence for the police as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That's all my question. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Richard, any questions?
Yes, thanks. Thank you very much. How many, whereabouts do the delivery drivers congregate at the moment? And roughly what area do you deliver to?
Thank you. I think the deliveries are within like radius of 3-4 miles. You know,
oh, that's quite a long way actually, but still, yeah, okay.
And also, it's not like we're gonna have like a 3, 4, 5 delivery people like hanging around. It's mostly the company will send only one person. You know, maximum they are gonna have like a 2 person doing the deliveries. You know, because they could handle that between that period.
Okay, but where do they congregate at the moment?
No, I mean, they wouldn't congregate. I wouldn't use the word congregate. You know, obviously they will be coming.
Wait.
They will have they will wait inside the premises.
Okay, and where are the bikes at the front or the back?
The back, we wouldn't be using the back door at all. You know, okay. We can have a condition to cover that if wanted, because it's not, we cannot do that. Only the front side. So they will park the, you know, the vehicle in the front.
Okay, so the bikes are parked outside and the deliverers are inside the premises.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot. Mr. I've forgotten his name. Mr. Longton. As notwithstanding what you said about the current closure time of 11 in your presentation, Mr. Longton maintains that the existing closing times have not been adhered to. And my question is, if you are not adhering to such a simple condition as that, what confidence can you give us that you will adhere to the further conditions to which you've already agreed and that we may decide to impose?
Thank you. That's the fair questions. The thing is, you know, the question we have now, the applicant hasn't been opening, you know, beyond 11 p.m. And when there was a complaint, you know, and he realized, you know, because when the lights is on, doing some cleaning up and things like that, people might be thinking like they are, you know, closing, opening late. And you can see even in the picture he sent, you know, there's no customers or no one there, you know. But again, you know, I asked him because he sent a picture saying that, you know, on 4th of November, I think, the day yesterday, and the applicant, I was speaking to him, said, surely, you know, because when there was a complaint saying, you know, he wanted to make sure it's everything, you know, there's door is locked, is closed, you know. And he was really surprised to see that. But that's what one of the, then I have to, you know, really questions, you know, the picture, whether it is give a proper evidence, you know. So in the future, you know, it can be, you know, now that, you know, obviously, and breaching, the other thing is, you know, if there's now in the future, the police can evidence it easily because there's a CCTV inside, outside, you know, and then if there's a complaint, the license gets revoked, you know, that will definitely happen. I know, you know, so the applicant is going to manage. Now he's managing it, you know, doing all the other works and completed by, you know, 11 p.m. He has been doing it for a while now, you know, so that people don't think he's opening late and things like that.
Okay, thank you very much for that reassurance. Just to confirm, I believe that one of the additional conditions to which the applicant has already agreed is that there shall be no, the only sales of alcohol will be for delivery. Is that right?
Absolutely, 100%.
So also, no alcohol will be sold over the counter in the premises at any time. Is that right?
Not. Yes, as per the application, it's not. And if they do it, that's a breach of the condition. That's mean, you know, there's a consequences for that. But that's not the case.
Okay, I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sweden. Suresh, I have got a question. There is a flat upstairs above the shop.
A flat?
Yeah. Is there a flat upstairs?
The
shop. Is there a flat? Is
check.
anybody living above the shop?
Yeah, people living above the shop. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Flat. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Sorry. Yes, people are living upstairs.
Yeah. So at late night, when you are running your business, right, cooking or preparing food, whatever, there must be some bit of noise. How far they are protected from this level of noise at very late night?
Yeah, Chair, I think when the shop is closed, even the person next door said it's the steel door at the back. So what we are saying, when the door is closed, there will be no noise going out, through the back. And also the cooking is not so much noise from the cooking, it's all mostly grilled and fried chickens, and grilled is mostly they use now. So it doesn't make enough noise to disturb the person above. I don't think the person above also put the representation. Seems like it's not, because Paul Linton, he's the next door person, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Questions from responsible authorities, please. Any questions?
Hello. Yes, I have a question. Could you tell me if there's going to be a minimum spend on food when purchasing alcohol?
Yes, for deliveries, they have to spend minimum, I think the minimum, they said, the minimum £8, they have to order food in order to be delivered.
And how much alcohol would they get for their £8 spend on food?
And with the £8, they can order extra if they want to order a bottle of wine or something.
Right, so there's no maximum of alcohol?
There will be, we haven't thought about that, but I think maximum, no, we don't have any maximum limit. But generally people order, I don't know, people not gonna order like bottles and bottles, normally order, bottle of wine or something like that.
Right, so what happens if someone is intent on having a really good party at home, is a little bit peckish, so has a chicken burger, but then wants to order 15 bottles of beer? That's not going to be a responsible sale.
No, I think, no, I got it. I think, I know you're saying like that, but I don't think if somebody want to have a party, I don't think they will order online with this kind of places. They would have already bought from, supermarkets and things like that. Generally, as far as I know, it is the first time I come across a questions like that. But, if we want to have a maximum limit, we're happy to have that, because we know the applicant told me people are not going to order, a few cans of beer and a few bottles of wine, like two bottles, something like that.
Yeah, see, my concern is he's saying that they're not going to. How does he know that? He hasn't tried this out. So this is all, early stages. It's going to be a test run. And I'm concerned that there'll be people who have been drinking at that time of the night, who want to make a spontaneous purchase, and order, as I say, a little bit of food, and then wants to have a load of alcohol because they're in maybe a drunk state. They didn't think to order from Tesco's and have a delivery slot earlier on in the day to get a load of alcohol. And this being a viable option may be a problem. People just buying a load of alcohol.
If we don't, if they can't buy from this shop, they can definitely get the alcohol if they really want it, okay? But on the other hand, we definitely want to be responsible, sales. So I'm just looking at, I will come back with talking to the applicant with an amount. Maybe we could have like a maximum amount to address your concerns. But generally, I don't think it will happen. But you can see, what we will do, we'll come up with some conditions to address that.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from other parties?
Chairman, I'd like to ask the applicant a couple of questions, please, if it's possible.
Yeah, sure. Go
on.
Thank you. Hello.
Good morning. Could you tell me, is the applicant going to be on the premises managing it the whole time himself, or would somebody else be responsible? Is he going to be there for the duration of opening hours, or is he going to distribute some of his responsibilities to other members of staff?
At the moment, they have two managers, so in terms of management, applicant himself, and there's another manager, who is always there with another extra staff, so two managers and the other staff. That's how the operation is. So one of them will be around all the time, at least in the evenings.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant suggest that he manages, or the managers manage the property, the numbers of people in the property and the noise? And does he do that satisfactorily at the moment?
No, as far as we, so far the management concerned, it's been managed satisfactorily. You can see, we don't see, any kind of evidence complaints from the premises in the last, however years. We are talking about 1 year, 2 year, or even the last 6 months. Except when we put this application, we have this been addressed now.
It would be my suggestion to the manager that I don't agree with what you're saying, that the opening hours haven't been complied with, that there are large numbers of people that are in the shop, as you mentioned, particularly from schools and also from large numbers congregating late at night. How would you answer that? Because my question is, I don't think that the numbers in the shop, the numbers of people coming out of the shop and congregating are, as you say, and that's from a local resident's perspective. Are you saying that's not the case?
So, yeah, what we are saying, during the school times, obviously there will be more children coming to buy, which is generally happens everywhere, so we can't blame them for that, but then, what we wanted to address, any nuisance, late in the evening, obviously the school children are not coming, and few steps we decided to take now is to put a signs, inside the shop and put a number as well for you guys to contact us. And if anyone hanging around outside, we will ask them to leave, and we put a sign as well. But we don't think, I don't know whether you notice, beyond like after 9:30, 10 o'clock, there are not many people. Mainly we are, the more deliveries happening.
Okay. What
Unless
would you
can say, the times, and we can, yeah.
What would you say if I said to you that because the shop is open so long, because people are coming and going at late hours,
yeah,
it's known as a crime prevention objective that these sorts of shops will attract attention. You will get lots of people because lights are on, people will gather. And when people come out after they've had a drink, they often are hanging around for a long period of time, and it's directly beside the bus stop there. My view is that that will continue.
Well, we think like that is a concern. So I can understand your concerns, but where are the ringing places here? But on the other hand, the type of customers coming in late at nights are people mostly living locally, the young families living locally, and we are not, the applicant, said to me, they don't get, in the evening business, you can see it's very things, so we are talking about majority of, that's one of the reasons, the deliveries we are talking about, And when these deliveries, then we are managing them effectively.
Well, thank you for answering the questions. I would just like to say that we would have to agree to disagree. Thank you very much indeed, Chair.
Thank you. Any other question from other parties?
Sorry, can I ask a couple more?
Just a quick one, please, because otherwise.
Okay. Right. You said about, I think you said that you don't get very many orders late at night. Is that what you said?
Not orders, like people coming in.
Not many food sales. Right, okay.
Walking in.
So can I ask why you want to extend the hours then if you're not really getting the business?
No, we are doing, like I said, the mostly what we get is deliveries at night.
Right, and you also said that you were going to put all your deliveries, group them all together and just have one person take off for a delivery for 45 minutes to an hour. How will that work? Because are people going to want to wait over an hour for their food to come? And if it's ready, is it not going to be cold? How is that possible to just do one delivery within an hour?
Normally, most of the restaurant, that's how they do. They have a delivery times, 30 minutes to 45 minutes, most of them. That's how we manage. When somebody order, we say, your deliver will be in 45 minutes.
Right, and my final question is, how are you going to be sure that you're not making sales to people underage? If they're ordering over the phone, let's say.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's why we have this effective system. When somebody deliver, or even when they first make order, the names and things like that are, the same person will be delivered, and anyone under, say if you have challenge 25, anyone under 25, they must prove the age at the door, otherwise they will not be delivered.
So you're not going to take cash payments?
No cash payments, yeah. Mainly.
Mainly or none?
Mainly online. I need to check that quickly to confirm that to you. I think they said mostly people are paying by debit card and credit cards.
Because if you're paying by cash, how do you show that you're an adult?
They have to show some ID, passport or driving license. Without it, they wouldn't deliver it. They wouldn't be delivered. The name is taken at night. Somebody ordering it, their name, their address is taken, and when they go and deliver it, by law you can't deliver to under 18, as you know, it's an offence. But that's one of the reasons. If you look at the steps that we agreed with the authorities on page number 63, so all deliveries, responsibility of them not to deliver to under 18, the type of ID taken, everything is recorded, and definitely with no ID, there will be no sales, no deliveries as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I'd like to move on to the next one, the responsible authorities. Can you present your case?
Yes, would you like me to read my reps out? Are you happy with what's been provided? Do you want me to go through them?
And you are?
Sorry, I'm the licensing officer from the police.
Okay, yeah.
Would you like me to read my representation?
All right. Yes,
okay.
Start, please.
I acknowledge the receipt of the application from Mr. Masithan from Wings Hut, 2060 Avenue, Chingford, E4. The applicant has applied for the following licensing activities: sale of alcohol and late night refreshment. If granted, the applicant proposes to operate from Sunday to Thursday, 10 until 2 a.m. and Friday to Saturday, 10 till 3. On behalf of the Commissioner of Police of Metropolis, I object on the grounds of the prevention of crime and disorder objective and the prevention of public nuisance. The venue is located within a residential area with no other venues open until 3 a.m. There is no late night economy. The area is associated with gang activity and within a 50 metre radius of the venue is a known drug dealing location, the alleyway. as well as multiple other venues known to be operated by the Selrat gang. The Selrat gang are based within the vicinity of the Aldridge Way estate in E4, which is a short walk from the venue. Gang members are regularly stopped and searched in the vicinity of the venue and the avenue, E4. The area is under a Public Spaces Protection Order, a PSPO, as the council are satisfied that activities have been carried out in this area which have had a detrimental effect on the quality of those in the locality. The PSPO imposes that no person shall leave litter in the public place. The DWO for the local SNT reports regular complaints regarding littering from the venue, as well as groups loitering, causing ASB and selling drugs. The PSPO also prohibits persons of 2 or more gathering and engaging in nuisance or criminal behaviour. The venue being open until the early hours of the morning is very likely to increase groups congregating, and with it being the only venue open at this time, I can see large numbers of persons gathering, including opposing gangs, and therefore significantly increasing and accelerating the likelihood of crime and disorder. The car park opposite the venue, as well as other nearby locations, are being used to film drill music videos, which is increasing gang tensions within the local area. The Selrat gang are recruiting younger school-age members and are being seen to approach students using the nearby shops and fast food venues. This indicates that the venue and others are contributing to child exploitation. The applicant intends to use scooters for mobile deliveries. With the venue being located on a residential road with residential properties above the venue, it is highly likely to cause an annoyance to the community, and that delivery drivers will gather in groups of 3 or more, both of which are breaches of the PSPO. I have since met with the applicant during this consultation period, and it would appear that the applicant has little or no understanding of the licensing objectives. Therefore, the MPS feel that they will not make responsible sales of alcohol. With regards to my representation against the alcohol, I note the following. The proposed age verification training appears to be flawed. The alcohol can be passed unchecked. There is no defined method of age verification, either online or in person. Without age verification coupled with a lack of knowledge from the DPS, I have concerns regarding Challenge 25 and underage sales being made. The applicant is proposing to make faceless sales of alcohol over the phone and online. The applicant also stated that he wishes to provide alcohol late evening after people have already consumed alcohol for the purposes of drinking at home. This raised alarms with the MPS licensing, as there would be a lack of responsible sales selling to people who are already under the influence of alcohol. So on Friday, the 15th of October, I had a meeting scheduled with Mr. Masithan and his consultant. I couldn't get hold of the consultant. However, I did manage to speak with Mr. Masithan, having got his phone number from the chicken shop. We made arrangements to have a meeting at the police station. Mr. Suresh didn't call me back. We then made arrangements to have a Teams meeting, and he said he was letting his clients know. On the day of the meeting, we logged on, but the consultant never joined the meeting. Mr. Masithan actually came to the station with his cousin because he couldn't get hold of his consultant. He asked if we could go ahead with the meeting in person, which we did do. Mr. Masithan didn't speak very good English, but his cousin did. So he said that he would translate and explain things accordingly. We asked if he was happy to go ahead with the meeting without his consultant present. He said yes, he was more than happy to. He was under no duress at any stage. Mr. Masithan told me that he had been running the Wings Hut for approximately 3 months, and that he also has 2 off licenses, which are not local. He told me that he's a PLH. I asked him why he wanted to sell alcohol and extend his hours now, as it's only been 3 months. He said that people had commented that there are no fast food places open late at night in the area, so he wanted to get that business. He said selling alcohol would be a way of making money. He remarked that he wants to sell alcohol to those who have been out partying and drinking. Mr. Masithan was asked if he knew what the 4 licensing objectives were. He sat in silence for some time before he said no. He was given a gentle reminder by us telling him one of them being the prevention of crime and disorder. Again, Mr. Masithan sat in silence. It was quite obvious that he did not remember the licensing objectives. Mr. Masithan was not under any duress. We reminded him of the objectives and then we moved on. Mr. Mathethan was informed of our concerns about late night opening hours. He said he understood our concerns around gang activity and noise and litter nuisance. We spoke about times that other premises are open to in the area. He was informed that we would not support him for a 2 o'clock finish and a 3 o'clock at the weekend. We discussed times with Mr. Mathethan. He said that he would be happy to open until 1 a.m. on Friday and Saturday and until 11 o'clock on Sunday through to Thursday. We discussed the concerns we had with Mr. Mathethan about the sale of alcohol. We informed him that it would make it be an adverse risk to take, as the steps he intends to take to promote the licensing objectives appear somewhat flawed. He was not able to evidence how he would be sure that underage people were not purchasing alcohol. His early declaration about selling to those who were being out partying and drinking also led me to believe that Mr. Mathethan would not make responsible sales. He was told that we would not support his application to sell alcohol. When closing the meeting, Mr. Mathethan informed us that he wanted to amend his application to show shorter opening hours and to remove the sale of alcohol. He said that we'd look up the licensing objectives to refresh his memory. He said he would be in contact with the council. Since the meeting, I've had troubles contacting Mr. Mathethan and also the consultant. The consultant did make contact. He apologised for not having been in attendance in the meeting and stated that he'd been in Sri Lanka and he had troubles contacting us on Teams. He informed us that Mr. Mathethan wants to proceed with the sale of alcohol and would like to open till 12:30 Sunday through to Thursday and 1 a.m. Friday to Saturday. He stated that Mr. Mathethan informed him that he had not told police that he'd be removing the sale of alcohol from the application. I have submitted a bundle which I'll refer to. I have a statement from a senior ASB officer from London Borough of Waltham Forest. He's deeply concerned about the proposal. He has received complaints of drug activity in the vicinity of Wings Hut and has also found weapons and drugs in close proximity to the fast food outlet. Also highlighted are concerns of gang recruitment taking place along the avenue with school children at the fast food eateries, in addition to gang activity in the area. It's felt that having a late night takeaway selling food and alcohol will provide a possible base for congregation for groups and gangs and has the potential for violence in the early hours. In addition, I have a statement from the local schools officer. She documents drug dealing and gang tensions in the area of Wings Hut. She references grooming taking place at the fast food outlets. She also talks of violence where weapons have been used and weapons being found. She is of the opinion that having later opening hours will attract youths to stay out later with the potential to increase gang violence. I also refer to a statement given by the dedicated ward officer. Within the statement, the DWO refers to calls from residents regarding youths loitering around Wings Hut, causing ASB problems by littering and selling drugs. These issues were part of the reason as to why the Public Spaces Protection Order was implemented. The officer states that over the past year, calls have been received in relation to vulnerable people from the mental health care home, drinking alcohol and taking drugs next to Wings Hut, which has led to violence. This officer raises concerns that with the 3 a.m. finish, loitering may increase along with ASB. We do recognise the need for businesses to succeed and we want businesses to flourish. However, we must understand that it must be done in a responsible way in which a local community will benefit. The promotion of public safety, the prevention of crime, the prevention of public nuisance and the protection of children must be paramount when licensing functions are undertaken. I do not feel that the applicant is able to meet the needs of the objectives via what he's proposed in his application. I have little confidence in his ability to sell alcohol through this method responsibly, and I do not feel that he has a clear understanding of what is required of him. I have been led to this conclusion through his admittance of not knowing what the objectives are, and he's wanting to sell alcohol to those who are already under the influence. I therefore object to the application.
Thank you very much. I now open to the questions from the subcommittee, my colleagues. Do you have questions?
No, Chair, I don't.
Richard?
Thanks. Thanks, Kerry-Ann, for your for reading out your submission. It was very helpful. I've got one question is, in what way do you think the age verification that the applicant has offered is flawed? You said you thought it was flawed. Could you just enlarge on that a little bit?
Because we cannot be sure that those who are purchasing online and providing the evidence of, you know, them being the appropriate age is going to be the person that's receiving it at the other end. We don't know who's going to be answering the door to the delivery driver. Are the checks going to be made there? Do we know once it's been delivered who it's getting passed on to? Do we know who is in the premises and is going to be consuming this alcohol?
But selling alcohol by this method is not that unusual. I mean, you can do it from Tesco's, for instance. Do you regard what has been asserted by the applicant as less effective than the verification that is provided by other retailers?
I do believe that they'll have an account where things are verified as to who they are. I also had the concerns about the sales being from cash, so therefore there are no checks. I just felt that the applicant wasn't able to answer my questions as to what he was doing to make sure that the alcohol was going to somebody who was of age. I know Tony also has views on that as well. Tony?
Yeah, so to answer or to help alleviate any concerns around that, when given the opportunity to explain what age verification schemes the business would be putting in place, there wasn't any. I pushed on the measures of checking for any proof of identification via the holographic means, which would be driver's license or passport, and it was a gentle jog of the memory. The problem that we have is I think it's important to remember that when we order our shopping from Tesco's or I'm sure there are many other named supermarkets, they will do an age verification for alcohol when you have an account. You're also ordering, or it would appear that people are ordering, a significant amount of shopping or a significant amount of alcohol. The problem that we had with this application was that as respectfully as I can be, the price of the food provided, it didn't quantify the sale of alcohol. As Kerry-Ann touched earlier, you could order a £4.99 or a minimum spend of £8, and then there was a supply of alcohol attached to that. Our concern was the age group of people that would be consuming that food would then have the option to be purchasing alcohol at the same time. Nothing wrong with that, but the applicant didn't show us anything that was convincing that he was actually going to put age verification methods in place. He was unsure of how that was going to work via using a particular website, or whether or not there was going to be any adequate training for staff members. There was no knowledge of how he was going to provide that service. So I think from the Metropolitan Police standpoint, we were looking at the application in two halves. We were looking at the knock-on effect of the venue being open until 3 o'clock in the morning and the effect that would have on the wider community. And then we were looking at what would be happening behind closed doors with the late sale of alcohol going beyond the closing of other licensed premises. So the two pubs in the area that will be closed well before that, and adding that to what the applicant stated during our meeting, that he was aiming to provide alcohol to those that wanted to continue the party at home, just raised real big concerns for us, how they were going to cover that responsible sale of alcohol. I hope that sort of alleviates some concern.
It does explain, although you appreciate that we have to try and be fair, and we do have to accept what people say at face value. Although the context of your interview is I think will be very helpful to us. But against that, we also have some written stipulations and the acceptance of the conditions that have been suggested by the licensing team, which does suggest verification that's more or less the same as other businesses that operate in a similar way.
Of course.
How do you feel about the fact that there'll be no alcohol sales across the counter in the premises?
Well, I mean, that is one of the things that we sort of looked at to say that that's actually a very good idea, because obviously you're stopping that footfall at that time of night, people coming in, having when we've found that if there is alcohol on show, confrontation can then begin, because they want to, they're trying to purchase alcohol, they're then refused service of alcohol, but because they can see it, that's when we begin to get altercation. So the fact that there is no alcohol in sight or on the premises, as we're aware, that we don't have a concern with that. Our only concern is the supply of alcohol at those times and the lack of governing that sale of alcohol.
Yeah, and it's this. I mean, I think I feel obliged to ask this, and I hope you don't think that I'm in any way undermining anything evidence that's been given. But have you got any? Is there any way that, as regards the way the business has been carried out hitherto, have you got anything kind of fairly concrete that associates the antisocial behaviour and the, for instance, the littering and congregating of undesirable persons with this particular business?
So if you were asking to pin down, has anybody been arrested within the shop, I couldn't answer that. That would be the evidence that Kerry Ann has taken.
I didn't
but I
need
see what you're saying.
As precise as that.
As far as I'm aware, the neighbourhood officers are constantly dealing with issues relating to people using the shop. But to point out what the consultant was saying earlier, at the moment, we were looking at the prevention. So I haven't had me personally as a licensing officer, I haven't had any dealings with the venue, because obviously there was no need for them to have a license.
Have they?
If they were trading up, they weren't trading after 11. So we haven't looked at that. What we have done is we've used the evidence that we've obtained from the schools officer, from the neighbourhood officer, from the Waltham Forest ASB officers, and then we've looked at that. And then now listening to Mr. Larkin, it's the prevention of what may happen and what is going to be put in place to prevent that. So to answer your question, sir, no, I haven't got anything concrete at the moment that would directly correlate to the venue.
Yeah, I've got one other final. This really will be the end of my cross-examination. I assure you.
Starting to sweat, sir. I'm on the Bailey.
I can see. I can see that my intimidating demeanour has really got you on the back foot. If one were to link the spend with a number of units of alcohol that you were allowed to have with it, how would you react to that?
I think for something like this, for a period of time, it would be something that would be good and something that we'd be looking at. I'm not aware of if anything like that is in place in other venues. That's something that I would have to go back and look at. But what Kerry Ann mentioned,
perhaps I'd better add then, my conditions are normally voted down by the legal team that I suggest. But anyway,
they would be better. Yeah, they may have.
But I just thought I'd fly that particular kite to see, as the responsible authorities, how you react to that. Fairly favourably, you think, if it was enforceable?
If it was enforceable, and there was a procedure in place where we could go in and review receipts, purchases, maybe by way of checking that they are following those conditions, I'm not sure how we would come up with an amount of alcohol that would be allowed to be provided.
No, I've already invented a formula for that.
Okay, and what I would also look at is that's
one
unit
for £2.
Yeah. Okay. I would need to be looking at, are the age verification schemes in place before we made that decision. So what would that work out then? 1 unit per?
Well, it would more or less allow, if you spent £20, it would more or less allow you to have a bottle of wine. You'd have 10 units for spending £20, which is roughly the equivalent of a bottle of wine, give or take. Yeah.
So we're just going back to if there was any hard evidence for Wings Hut itself. No, not for the actual premises, but I've got lots of evidence about crime and disorder that is happening in the vicinity of Wings Hut, and the gangs, etc.
I accepted that evidence, and that's quite clear from the generality of evidence that the area, there's it's the PSPO and the general there's general evidence that it's a place where there are difficulties, and the proximity of the gang activity. I was really in looking at these things, I don't want to put words into Suresh's mouth, but he will say aha, but you can't tie this to these particular premises, or it's my client is not the source of this behavior. So I was pressing you on that, and I accept that, and we may in consultation with what we can legally do, the PSPO will, whilst it can't, I don't think it can be a sole reason, it will come into our considerations, but I take on board the generality of that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off at your prime, but I've got that already.
Okay. No, that's fine. I was just wanting to make sure. No, that's fine.
Okay, and thank you very much for answering so fully, both of you. Thanks a lot. You'll be relieved to know that that's the end.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, is there one question I could ask on the verification?
I will come to you. I want to ask, you mentioned about variation of time, like 12:30 from Sunday to Thursday and 1 o'clock Friday, Saturday. Yeah. Could you kindly elaborate that one?
Yes, there seemed to be, right. So when we had the meeting, Mr. Massethan, and we said we wasn't going to support his application for those timings, he did discuss times with us, and he agreed that he would amend his application and would contact the council. And he said that he would be happy to get the times here, do Friday and Saturday until 1 o'clock. And the reasoning being behind that was because there's a kebab shop that is open until that time, so it would fall in line with another fast food outlet. And that he would go from Sunday through to the Thursday until 11 o'clock, which again was in line with other fast food places. He obviously didn't amend his license and contact the council with that. And then the consultant came back to me and said that didn't happen, but it did, because I was in that meeting, and then offered up another time, which was 12:30 from Sunday through to the Thursday, and then 1 o'clock on Friday and Saturday. So there seems to have been these different times battered about.
Okay, thank you. I think I invite the applicant to put up questions. Do you have questions?
Yeah, I think I just want to ask questions. By law, selling to or supplying alcohol to drunk people is an offense. They can't do it. So I know, so I just wanted to clarify, I don't know if I may, it's not a questions. I was speaking about, I think it's great, I could use this opportunity to quickly clarify. I think, so one of the things is there was a little bit of misunderstanding in the situation. I think it's misunderstood that he's going to supply alcohol to drunk people partying. What he was saying, when people partying, they order food, and they might order, alcohol as well. But it doesn't mean, they are already having drunk, and, that's what he meant to me anyway. But anyway, just want to clarify that situation. But anyway, he's been a personal license holder. He knows that he can't do that, selling to drunk people, and he's been trading in the licensing sector for a long time. But thank you, I just want to say that. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Larkin? You're muted. Can't hear you, Mr. Larkin.
Can you hear me now, Chair?
Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify with the applicant's agent, is my understanding correct that delivery drivers from a third-party company will be delivering to the households? And is it then their responsibility to check with the person purchasing, in other words, at the address, that they are of age and have identification to say that they're old enough to purchase the alcohol? Because I think that's a little spurious and worries me slightly that the emphasis goes then from the business to a third-party delivery driver who may or may not find that he's responsible or they are responsible enough to check the documentation required on delivery.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's the responsibility of the seller, which is the applicant here, making sure the alcohol is being not delivered to underage or anyone having, drunk people. And the system that we have, is we will implement our system to the delivery drivers, not, theirs or something like that. But on saying that, a lot of, I think the Uber delivery, I think people like them, they are also well trained by them as well. And, all those people. But here we are looking at, I think the food is really a good thing and has a positive impact, because I know we are talking about this, but having a food, people tend to not to want to drink too much alcohol, when people eating is supports, the less things like that. Anyway, so I think the responsibility is ours, and in the licensing also we are taking the full responsibility part of the conditions.
So could I ask you how you would implement that responsibility on, let's use a household name like Uber or something like that, or one of those delivery firms? How would you make sure that they are doing and fulfilling their duties and checking up for you to make sure that they are delivering to people that are of an age that could purchase alcohol?
And they are using our documents for delivery, and they are supplying to us, So when they do deliver, they have to make records of the person who delivered, whether they check ID and what ID they check, and all the records coming back to us. And every company, they do that as well, every suppliers,
So you're saying that your company will have a record of those and that people, or that what the people have shown to prove that they are of an age when they deliver?
Yeah, 100%, everything will be recorded.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. That's the end of my question there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question to the responsible authorities? If not, I can move to the other parties. Other parties, anyone wants to present their case? No? Okay. I now call all the parties to sum up their case. The first one, I will invite responsible authority. Responsible authorities to sum up your case.
We are still not going to support the sale of the alcohol. What was discussed in the meeting with Mr. Masithan about the change of the opening hours back to 1 o'clock Friday and Saturday, and we said 11, but we would potentially move to the 12 o'clock, be happy with that, for Sunday through to Thursday. However, we will still stand by. We're not happy to support the sale of alcohol. We don't have confidence in the applicant to do that responsibly.
Thank you very much. The other parties. Brian wants to speak. I can see Brian raised his hand.
Yeah.
Responsible.
Hi.
Yeah.
Ryan Nish from Waltham Forest Council. I think you've seen my supporting statement, hence why I'm assuming people have read it. My only concern was the shop being open and being a potential hub for local gangs to use as a base, which has been expanded on by Kerry Ann. That is still my concern. Should it open much later as well? There's not much more I can add to that, but other than the activity ongoing in a facility such as the Aldrich, Signal Walk as well. In the past, we have had people loitering around there, drug dealing and violence as well in the past. So I'm not saying it stems directly from that shop, but I am concerned, should it be open much later, it could gravitate to that area.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. The other parties, does anyone wants to speak on behalf of the other parties to sum up their case? If not, I pass on to the applicant to sum up your case, please.
Thank you, Chair. But I mean, applicant also, since I spoken to him and then I went back to the authorities, we speak to Kerry. I think I told her, like, I think the applicant, when he was leaving the meeting with the police, and he assured them that, she mentioned that he will go back and look at those, objectives again. Actually, he did. He went back, look at all the systems and remind himself, But right now, Chair, I think we have put a number of conditions very strong to promote the licensing objectives. And we do understand, I think now this premises is becoming licensed premises. I also feel that there's a positive move, because a lot of things can be evidenced. If there's a gangster outside doing something and then going into the premises, and they don't know who they are, but actually they can identify the person through the CCTV from this particular premises. Maybe I'm just saying, So basically, there is no link between all those crimes happens in the school and everything else. We feel really sad, it shouldn't happen. I think I'm hoping the police can do something else for that. But right now, we will work with the police or the applicant, through those conditions. I think we would like to invite the committee to really look at positively and come up with the right conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I will invite the subcommittee to retire for arriving its decision.
Chair, is it okay if I speak just now? Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
Sorry, who is this?
Who
wants to speak? Tilly.
So that's Katie Burns. She's the schools officer.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
Quickly,
Chair. I was just trying to unmute myself on there. I just wanted to add there, the last guy mentioned that there's kind of no link between the fast food at all. I think that's a bit of an unfair statement to make. Although some of the issues or the crimes are not reported inside the chicken shop, when obviously I'm the schools officer, when we're talking about grooming of children, it's not obvious. That's how they start grooming children. The older youths go in there and they just buy them chicken and chips. So not necessarily the people working in the store would know that stuff is going on. It's obviously the schools officers and the police
that then see what happens when they're groomed. They start off by buying them food and stuff like that, and then they buy them clothing and so on, and they get them into the drug dealing. So I think it's a bit unfair to say that just because we don't have ASB calls or like direct calls inside the chicken shop doesn't mean that there's no kind of correlation between the two. We know from evidence that there definitely is. And that's not just that chicken shop, we're talking about the whole area.
All right. Thank you very much. I think now subcommittee will retire and consider the deliberation.
Thank you, Chair.